time, but I do feel I feel special afterwards.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look here at Classic stats. 48-40, including his Brood War stats as well as his stats from the previous season of Pro League. 9-6 this season. An excellent, stellar record against Zerg, 4-1. And in his last 5 matches, he's 3-2. Losing the first and the 5th matches. So, a bit of a more healthy record there in the middle is coming off of a loss here.
Yep. You cannot argue with that upwards red arrow, especially with how well he's doing in individual leagues. This guy is looking better and better, and being in that SKT house is definitely helping him out. He's becoming a really strong player here in Korea.
Now, the Moonglade pick over here is live. He has not yet played a single match versus Protoss in Pro League, but don't be fooled. If you look at his results otherwise in other tournaments, he's got a great track record against Protoss. Even in Wings of Liberty, he was looking solid in that matchup. Only playing 6 times in Pro League, I feel like the result's a bit more disappointing than Life fans would have expected.
All of those games were against Terran, actually. So 3 wins against Terran and 3 losses against Terran. He has not played a single Zerg or Protoss today, so this is going to be interesting seeing him here playing against Protoss at Pro League.
Well, here we go. The map is King Sejong Station. Let's find out which one of these teams is going to take the lead.
LTA는 SK텔레콤.
Up here in the top left, in the orange for SK Telecom T1, he is Classic.
Fixing his monitor. Doesn't want that to fall on his head or anything. Down here at the bottom right in the blue for Startail, but of course playing for IM today, it's Life. For those of you confused about this, there was a partnership between Startail and Incredible Miracle, a KESPA sanctioned partnership, which allowed Startail players to join IM. So a few of them did join. Life and Curious, very notable additions to the team they can rely on. And people were calling the partnership STIM, actually, for ST plus IM for Startail.
Oh, that's cute. I like that a lot.
They also, of course, have partnered with Team Liquid Zone Hero as well. So Hirai, being a coach who's got a lot of relationships with old ESF teams, being able to reach in there and pull some good players out to help their roster, make it a little bit thicker, a little bit tougher. So definitely helping them out. And a shot over there of Paralyze.
Wonder what they were talking about. They randomly gave us a shot of Paralyze on the bench.
Well, he did play very well, actually, in Codes and Advanced with Classic.
So that's got to be it.
So I think they may actually match against each other. I'd have to go back and look at the bracket in Codes, but regardless, it was a big upset for Classic to get out of the group because Life did not get out. I mean, not Classic. For Paralyzed to get out of the group and not Life because it was just everyone was expecting Life to get out of that group. Did not happen.
Yep.
Life actually playing really poorly in that group, in my opinion. I don't know if you caught the games, Moonglade, but he played really badly in some of those games, and that's part of the reason why also I went Classic here. He looked a little bit shaky.
Yeah, it was a time ago. I can't remember the games exactly, but I usually try and catch as many live games as I can for sure. But going into this game, we kind of have some build order advantage for the Protoss players so far, going Nexus first in the gateway, and we have Life going 15 pool into a late hatchery. So he was kind of playing against maybe he might be running into cannons. So he definitely played a lot more defensive against Classic, delaying that first hatch. So a little bit of a build order advantage for Classic so far, but nothing too huge.
Yeah. Classic going to be able to get his tech and his Nexus up very early, so that's the little advantage he gets here. And we'll see what tech he chooses. On this map, we have seen a lot of just fast expands to the third after Phoenixes. Occasionally, you'll see the good old Oracle and the Void Wraith expand into that third base, gives a little bit of safety there. Third base on this map is pretty easy for both races to take in this matchup. It's far away from your opponent, and it's not too far away from your natural defensively. And it's easy for the Protoss to really set up a wall in, and the Zerg can spread the creep over there. It doesn't take too long, so...
Yeah. Was definitely expecting to see Life drop down that really fast third base, especially after seeing the Nexus first. He knows that pressure isn't going to come for a while here, as long as he's not facing any weird 4-gate stuff coming right after that Nexus really fast. But I think he's got a good read on what Classic is doing right now. And if you think about Classic as a player, he's not really going to be super aggressive. And once he sees that Nexus first, he's like, okay, I can just drop down my third base. I should be okay.
Yeah, well, it's actually it's kind of a classic build against a Forge Fast Expand, to be honest. The kind of like the gases 3 base into maybe we'll have to wait and see exactly when he's going to get his gases. Maybe it'll be 530, maybe 6. 6 is kind of like the standard against the Forge Fast, but against like a gateway, Nexus first in the gateway, the timings are a little bit different. So he has to be a little bit more careful of timings, especially.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's the Nexus Expand that allows you to get your tech simultaneously. So it's
the greedy build.
It's greedy, and if you get away with it, you get economy and power. It's like the ultimate Protoss dream to have early on. Now, I want to mention some additional stats here. Life, when he did play in that Codes group, he lost 0-2 to Paralyze, and the first map he lost was on King Sejong Station. He did, however, when he rematched against Paralyze, the only map he took when he lost 2-1 was this map. So he went 1-1 on the map in that group. So interesting that he's the one who's played on this map instead of Biel. Biel seems to have a better track record on this map. Just giving you guys some more inputs or insights about that group that we saw in Codes. And Life definitely in that matchup, in my opinion, the reason why he looked a little bit weaker was just simply because his multitasking kind of fell apart. He did not defend the Zealot harassment very well. That was his weakest point. There was also a DT harassment moment where he just did not respond to the DTs almost at all. His army he went Broodlords, and his army was a bit slow, and he was just slow to respond. So we'll see if that ends up coming to play in this game. He's already got his Spore Crawlers set up for the Phoenixes.
Yeah, he's in a very good position, playing just right, droning just right. He's kind of scouted enough with his Zerglings to kind of know that there isn't going to be any sort of Zealot timing behind these harassments with the Phoenix. So he has been droning up very hard, getting a safety spore at each base. And pretty much every base at this point is fully saturated. So he's in a really good point to go into the mid-game. It's kind of really delayed his Roach Warren, getting it now. But that's a pretty late Roach Warren, so if there ever was any kind of Zealot harassment, it could do a lot of damage.
Yep. Few main-earning drones getting picked off here. May actually go on the edge and grab one more. It looks like the transfer drone may get picked.
Nope.
No, he wants to bait the Queen away from the Spore. Not able to do it.
I like how he's bringing the Mothership core with this Phoenixes. You don't see this all too often, but it adds a little bit of extra pressure. Just annoying ground damage that, if the Phoenixes don't have the energy to pick up something, can still annoy or possibly put down the Time Warp, as we did see there.
Yeah, the thing about the Mothership core is if you take a fast third base, it's really important to have that at home because if a big Ling run by goes over there, like with the one we see here, you're going to be in a lot of trouble if the Mothership core isn't at home. But since he's not taking a fast third, the Lings are going to come over there, see, oh, you don't even have a third, and they're just going to kind of run into a brick wall at the natural. Not going to break through here. These units are a bit far out there, though. He's actually confident enough to fight against these Lings straight up. Now he has to because he is going to plant that Nexus, and here comes Speed. Let's see if Life can get a surround on that Nexus. He should be able to, but that's a lot of force fields available.
I wonder if it would actually be worth it to just go ahead at that Nexus to force out a bunch of those force fields, because with how early it was, when those Zerglings got there, there wasn't much health on that Nexus. If he just attacked it with all those Zerglings, it could definitely force out a lot of force field energy. But I guess he wants to keep his Zergling pressure alive and not just waste it just yet. Yeah,
I don't know if he would have been able to get it, and I don't know if the trade-off would have been too helpful for him, considering that there's not any sort of timing coming up here for Classic just yet where he needs that force field energy. He has rushed these Colossi out, though, very early, getting +1, now adding that Twilight Council so you can get the follow-up +2, and most likely the Blink upgrade to follow. But Life is in kind of an uncomfortable place, I would feel right now, because he doesn't have a fourth base up just yet, and he hasn't been able to deny his opponent's tech or his third base. So do you think he's going Swarmhost? Is that what this infestation pit's for, or do you think he's going for a fast Viper play?
It's hard to say. It's kind of it looks kind of definitely like the way his tech's gone, especially with upgrading Zerglings. Colossus are going to do just fine against what Life is kind of upgrading into, but it could very well be Swarmhost from here. I think it'd probably be the safer choice, considering where he's at. He's actually banked up a lot of queens too. He's got 4 queens that could be used for creep spread as well as transfusions. So he might even want to just go into
straight Ultra?
Maybe straight into Ultra. We'll have to wait and see if he's going to upgrade Hive straight away. Oh, but it looks like it's going to be Locust.
Swarmhost, yeah.
Locust upgrade, so it's going to be Swarmhost. And 7 Swarmhosts straight up.
Yeah. Swarmhost, it's a unit that we see all the time on this map. It's so good for controlling different areas of this map, especially once you try to get that 5th base in the middle. set up a bunch of static defense and get those swarm hosts covering those 2 lanes to your 4th or 5th base there in the middle, and should be okay as long as the creep spread is good, which for Life so far is pretty decent.
It's not too bad. I mean, he does have 4 queens, so he could definitely be planning down a few more, but kind of keeping them defensive for now. Waiting for these swarm hosts to get up, and we're going to see a bit of a timing on the 4th base, it looks like.
Yeah, this is a really cool timing where he just knows that he has enough units to probably force a cancel on this base, or not force a cancel, force a kill, I should say. Swarm hosts, though, get in position just in time, and those spines look like the spores, excuse me, look like they will finish, which will delay and buy a lot of time here, and may be able to help him pick off any observers that come by. So I'm not so sure he can actually really hit this. It's a very strong, aggressive push. But attacking directly here against the Swarm host might not work out for him. I think he was considering even going behind the base to try to hit the mineral line. But there's always a concern maybe he's got Corruptors coming out. He doesn't really know.
Yeah, it really felt like it was going to be kind of like a mass recall harassment. Try and cancel that 4th base and just recall out and then play it from there, which would definitely get him ahead and definitely set him up for a great timing later. But yeah, the Swarm hosts were definitely in position. There was enough of them. There was only 2 Colossus, which isn't enough to really fight Lucas. And there was a Spore Crawler, which would definitely kind of get rid of any sort of observing.
Yeah, and it's also just really annoying to have those spores there because the Colossi can't just walk over them. And, you know, they're also going to hit the Colossi if they get too close. So it helps drain some of the fire away from the Boros. It tanks a little bit for the Locust. So Spore Crawler are a great little defensive structure to have against something like this.
And Life is really looking for like a way to run by and create some damage. He's going to try into the natural.
There's no Zealot here.
Classic Life.
Classic Life, man. He makes it work somehow, some way. He always finds his Lings in his opponent's main base. And this really hurts. Classic is going to lose a lot of probes here.
Oh, wow. If he gets this Robo, if he actually kills it, wow.
Oh, my God.
Removes any sort of Colossus production, which is going to do great for the Locusts.
That
great
is
for the Swarm host.
He also stops Blink, and he may even kill the Twilight Council.
Oh.
I think he's going to get that.
It looks like he may just get it. It's really close. He's got to clear all those Zerglings.
That was like a way delayed reaction there. They almost.
And look at this. Life could very well go for the 4th base now. Everything's completely out of position. If he decides to run there now, he could very well cancel it. But kind of running to the Xel'Naga Tower instead. So he's going to miss his little opportunity there.
The Zealot Harassment over here is not doing a ton of damage, but he gets into a decent position here on the ramp. Problem being that the Locusts are going to be able to help deflect this range-wise. And again, another move out here by Classic without the extra Colossi, you know, he's missing here. It's hard for him to actually finish the job. He only has 3. So if he comes out here with only 3 Colossi and loses 1 or 2 to Vipers, then that's the end of this push. He's going to have to recall straight away after that happens. So even moving out here is a bit of a risk, but he knows he needs to do something. He needs to put some sort of pressure on. And this is that 4th base counter pressure you were talking about, Moonglade. If everything else is out of position, he could do a lot of damage.
This could do so much damage.
He's not in the right position at the hole in the wall, and here comes more Zerglings into the main base of Classic.
Oh my goodness.
This is so annoying to deal with.
This is perfect. This is exactly how Life plays and exactly what I was counting on when I picked him as the good chance to win this game, and he's doing so much damage to the main. He's killing just about every probe. He's had to pull so many, and he's lost so many.
Yeah. Already down to 64 probes by now. You guys can see when we get the workers killed tabs pretty even. Even with all the harass that Classic did early on with the Phoenixes.
And he's just got to wait for these Locusts to time out. He needs to get something done. There's already a healthy amount of Corruptors plus those Vipers. Classic really needs Storm and needs High Templar with his army. The Void Rays he has are just not high enough in number. And honestly, I'm really starting to be concerned about it. His army is maxed out, but the composition he has is just not as good as Life's, quite frankly. He has so many Stalkers. But the Stalkers aren't really going to be useful against Locust or Zerglings too much compared to other more expensive units he could have in his army. There's a first Abduct on that Void Ray. Goes down instantly.
Wow, very nice. And this is actually a big thing to note is that there's actually no Templar in this army whatsoever to do any sort of feedback to these Vipers. So they are free to just... Oh my God.
Wow, that is the worst feeling a Protoss could ever have when you think the wall is tight, but it's not. He's had to recall several times around the map to defend. Losing more mining time here now. Lings coming into the main. This buys, again, more time for Life to build a better bank and build his larva back up and even take map control. Now he's going to maybe see if he can snipe a Colossus across the ridge. I don't think he will get one.
Oh,
but gets a Mothership Core.
Yeah.
That's very important. That's a huge one. That's going to definitely affect any sort of run-bys, any sort of recalls to protect from these run-bys. And we do finally see some Templar up to deal with the Vipers. But he's had a lot of free time with these Vipers. And one thing that's kind of really important to note is that he really delayed. He was so aggressive with these Zerglings, keeping the Protoss running around the map, that he really skimped out on the getting any sort of static defense. He's only put up a few Spore Crawlers at the 5th base. And besides that, you know, he's got a few at every other base, but not too much. Not normally as much as you'd see from a Zerg. Right? So he's really focusing on aggression and really kind of like using that as his best defense, keeping the Protoss out and about.
Yeah, so as they say, the best defense is a good offense. Has so many Corruptors, 24 of them. Not even afraid to be liberal with his Viper energy, dropping those Phoenixes down. And again, I mean, this is a tough situation for Classic, because even though now he's secured a 4th base, it's hard to actually beat Life's army straight up, and Life's just getting more and more upgrades. At least for Classic, now he has those High Templar. They're in his army. They have Storm. They can drop those Storms down on the Corruptors. They can try to feed back the Vipers. The wall is tight this time, and it has 2 cannons of support, so we'll see how much those Lings do.
Yeah, it's gotten to a point. We'll hold that thought. Grabs a Colossus, and some nice Storms, and a feedback goes down on one of those Vipers. I don't think he has any more grabs, but he still has a ton of Corruptors in the air.
The Spore Crawler force on the ground is so important here, because those Storms were great damage dealers. It was almost worth it to lose the Void Rays or the Colossi for those Storms, because the Storms did so much. But if you can't finish them off, it doesn't matter, because they'll regen back to full health. That's the issue when you're dealing with Zerg like this. You have to actually kill the units. You can't just damage them. They're going to come back to health.
Yep, I mean, the Storms did do a huge amount of damage to the Corruptors, though, and they do have a lot of HP, so it's going to take quite some time for them to regen up. And I'm pretty sure every single Viper, except for maybe one, got killed. So it's going to take some time to get them back and get enough energy to kind of start sniping again. Putting down a lot more Spine Crawlers now.
So all these Stalkers are walking into a bad place. Ends up losing one. Second one heavily damaged. I think the third one also took a little bit of shield damage as well. But the Corruptors, the map control here for Life, I mean, he doesn't have the best creep rate. It isn't extensive, but it's enough to give him vision of exactly where he needs to be at all times with his Corruptors. Baits out that overcharge here. And nice feedback, but he does end up losing a Viper. Or not a feedback, an abduct.
I really love how you know, Life has been playing this game so far, just with the counterattacks and everything. He's gained so much map control, but as it stands with facing this gigantic Protoss Death Ball, he still has to slowly take it down. He has to be so careful right now. And this Protoss Death Ball is right on his doorstep, trying to attack this 4th base. And really all he's got is like 29 Corruptors and 13 Swarm Hosts. He's trying to get some Infestors out. He really desperately needs those, especially as the Void Ray number gets bigger and bigger.
I have to say Classic's control is incredible. Not always the best defense for these run-bys, but his zoning with his units, the way he positions his Colossi and his Storms, really nice done. He looks like he's going to sack these Stalkers. There were no Queens nearby, but he still didn't commit there. Again, Life very good with his targeting. Make sure he unpowers the Robos.
Yeah, really nicely done. Nice burrow too. Gets a few Zerglings survive. And yeah, losing that base kind of hurts Life a bit, but he's whittling away at this Protoss Death Ball, and I think it's going to be kind of a long game. If Life wants to win it, he's going to have to just trade effectively every time.
I feel like Classic has really regained a ton of momentum in this game, and I feel like he's playing these fights, these positional battles, a lot better than Life is. And Life is always like a step behind with his Corruptors. Now he's walking into Storms and that Prismatic Alignment, and only one Void Ray left. And here we go. Can he actually come in here with the Fungals? It looks like the answer is yes. Few Stalkers do escape, but there's so many Corruptors here. Those Colossi are definitely going down if they get locked down by the Fungals, and it looks like one more will. Good control here, though, on the Stalkers. He doesn't have anything to finish off the Stalkers until the Locust spawn. That was a crazy engagement there. A few Void Rays rallied over here to make sure they could kill any remade hatchery. And Life's bank in minerals is actually starting to get a bit short here.
Yeah, definitely. And this counterattack is going to be hard to deal with as well. Like you were saying, there's not much on the ground besides these Swarm Hosts. And he's trying to get a bunch of Zerglings out here, which will delay it, but still, it's so annoying. These Void Rays, not the Void Rays, the Zealots have +3, and against Zerglings, they're going to do so well. In the meantime, still pressuring at the front.
Yeah, these Zealots are going to do so much damage. I mean,
oh my God.
As he was making like 30 Zerglings, these Zealots walked in, and it was the exact wrong counter to kind of deal with them. You really need Roaches, you really need Hydras to kind of fight these kind of run-bys like that. Zerglings are never going to be cost-effective.
Yeah. And
this is actually doing way too much damage.
Yeah, he's killing all these Roaches over here too. The Roach is actually designed to defend this, but didn't end up working out. The static defenses that he has here are pretty helpful. Probably something that his coach talked to him about, especially after the Code S match. Like, you had some real big problems dealing with the Zealot run-bys. You just make a bunch of static defense, and you'll be okay. I don't know what the story on these Swarm hosts are.
Looks like they were rallied with the Locust, and these are 3 free Swarm hosts. That's very unfortunate.
Life can't afford this anymore.
Yeah, it's such a crucial point in the game. You cannot throw away any units right now.
Honestly, I feel like Life is just not as good at the late game as he is at the mid game, and Classic is showing why he's the better player here when it comes to late game in a lot of ways. The game is by no means over, but Life has lost a lot of momentum, and now even Classic poised to take a 5th base right now. He's got enough Colossi to deal with a small amount of Swarm hosts. He has enough Void Rays to deal with Broodlords, which seems to be Life's next step here. And he even has a Fleet Beacon to make Tempest, so Classic is ahead in almost every way right now.
Yeah, it really looks like Life is running out of steam at this point. Like, he lost the base, and from there, he kind of stopped making any sort of Vipers. He stuck on just mass Corruptors and kept trading against Storm, which was really cost ineffective. And yeah, from here, his run buys have slowed down a lot. Even though he has the money to do it, he's kind of just out of the rhythm now. He's finally got his 5th base back up, but he's not really droning it just yet, and he's got to really deal with these constant attacks on his natural.
Yeah, and now the Stalkers are blanking forward here. There's enough Swarm hosts and those Vipers with the Blinding Cloud to actually stop him from chasing and killing the Corruptors, but not enough to actually stop him from killing a base. Feedbacks on those Investors as well. Looks like the High Templar are going to survive like barely over here with just a little bit more health.
Be really careful. If they get fungled a couple of times, they're going to go down, especially with Broodlings and Locusts in the way, so it has to pull those back.
These Storms on these Corruptors have been out of control good here for Classic this game. That's that fungal you're talking about. He's starting to lose a few of those. 5th base is up. Ton of Zealots being warped in over here, just probably to run around and try to kill this 4th base of Life again. Life's never been able to secure a 5th base and is really struggling, quite honestly, to hold on to his 4th. With this slow, immobile army. And Tempest, 3 of them are about to pop out. It's going to make the defense of the Broodlords a whole lot easier.
That means every Broodlord can get 1 shot. All it takes is 3 Tempests to 1-shot a Broodlord, so it's going to be very difficult, even with this army now, to kind of find any sort of damage. You really have to hide Broodlords, and you really have to kind of get them out a bit early if you want to use them very effectively.
And look at this, getting pretty close to taking this base down. He really needs to finish off those last 3 Zealots. You cannot take them lightly.
Yeah, actually, I think he's going to get it.
Oh, he's getting it.
Oh my god.
He just didn't. This is what I was talking about. In Code S, he just showed a lackluster late game, a lackluster defense against Zealot run-bys, DT run-bys, things like this.
Yeah.
He thought he dealt with them, and he just right-clicked his Broodlords away, and he didn't. And now this Warp Prism is a place where he could actually warp in just a few units and then kill the base again. 2 DTs, just drop them down there. There's no detection. While the hatchery is low on health, he could actually just go in and snipe it again. Looks like he's going to go for drones instead, but Life looks like he is pretty much topped out here at this point.
Oh boy, look at this. Life already so low on drones and mining even, and just losing even more. He is going to finally finish off those DTs after they got 6 kills, but again, can Life deal with this? When he's down in supply, he doesn't have enough minerals to make the same units. He gets nice pulls here.
It's actually really nice pulls.
And good fungals too, but those Tempests in the back are doing so much damage to the Broodlords. Like you said, they can one-shot here. This is still, most of the Void Rays are now dead, and this could be Life's moment. Where are the Stalkers? Now they're coming in here. There's way too many Broodlords on the ground. Even that Archon doesn't stand a chance, and this is Life's chance to pull himself back into this game. Great engagement here. Isn't able to kill the Colossi, but kills a lot of expensive units nonetheless. Those at Classic's bank has disappeared. It's gone down to about 0 at this point. He has a good amount of mining, but his bank that he had is now gone.
Yep, that was a really bad fight for Classic, but I mean, his Death Ball's still there, the core of it's still there. He's still got 5 Colossus.
Yeah, good pulls on these Tempests though. It's so expensive to lose 2 of those like that. And still the Stalker's not really getting anything for it because of the good zoning by the Broodlords this time.
Yeah, and I think Life really has to push this now. It's like now or never. He's really got to find damage. He's got to get rid of this 5th base, really stop the Protoss economy and keep his army together. Keep these Broodlords alive because they are doing amazing work against the Stalkers especially.
Now this is important because this is a lot of Classic's bank he's spending now to do this. So he absolutely has to kill this base, I say, to make it worth the investment of the Zealots. +2 is soon to be done for those Tempests as well. Okay, now targeting that hatch. There's no transfuses nearby. And with a few more Zealots coming in, I think he's going to be able to get that hatch. Meanwhile, over here, Archon's getting some good hits on those Corruptors, but it's not enough. and the Broodlords are actually now starting to get into range of killing that Nexus. And even the Locust helping out.
Losing this 5th base like this was done so much damage. I think one of the biggest problems for Life is that he didn't get 3-3 on his Zerglings, and which could have really helped with these run-bys at the very least, getting rid of the Zealots, fighting them without getting 2 hit. But we might see this Nexus get picked off at the 5th. Oh, but at the same time, the 4th base of Life is also getting killed. All the drones had to be pulled, and he had to pull back his Broodlords, so the pushing stops. This gives time for the Death Ball to regain its power. And from here, I think Life just might have been out of time.
It really does. I mean, he killed the 4th base. He got the 5th base to half health. There was no mining there for so long. He's just now getting the mining up. Like you said before, he really needs this Nexus so badly right now.
Another Void Ray gets pulled, but at the expense of a lot of Corruptor health. And I think with one right click of the Broods, he will kill that base. Yep, there he goes. Clicks on it there. A few Broodlings working on it. Honestly, though, he could use some better targeting. And again, every second that Classic is mining from this base is so critical because it gives him the money to keep doing these Zealot run-bys. And Life is out of steam here. I think this might actually be the push that breaks his back. Storm's going down here. So much damage on those Voids. The Colossi doing what they can to defend. And Classic just has a bank here. Life does not anymore, so every Broodlord he loses is just too expensive to replace.
But, I mean, Classic's throwing away a huge chunk of his army. Just about every Colossus, every Void Ray, every Tempest, every Stalker. He actually lost everything in that engagement. He went way too deep.
The big thing that remains here are the Swarm Hosts. And if you're putting Stalkers against Swarm Hosts and you're losing your 5th Nexus, you're still in a bad position.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't realize all those Swarm Hosts were still alive. And with all those Locusts coming down, Classic is now in this awkward position where he needs to take another base, I would say. And I think that's probably going to be the base at the 9 o'clock that he wants to move down and take. Taking the base that's next to the creep in the center of the map no longer seems like a smart idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Losing this Warp Prism really hurts his harassment potential as well. Not like he could be using it for too much, considering that his bank is basically gone. Oh no, he does not want to lose that Archon. That would have been a disaster.
Yeah, and I mean, from here, Classic really needs to start making Colossus again. He really needs to get back in it. I mean, he actually, that fight was just so cost ineffective, to say the very least, for Classic. Like throwing away every Colossus, jumping in on top of Swarm Hosts without any detection, because obviously there's War Crawlers all around these Swarm Hosts. And he really threw away a huge advantage here. He's not out of the game yet, but I mean, without Colossus, he's going to have such a hard time against these Swarm Hosts.
Yeah, the Swarm Hosts are repositioned to deal with the Nexus. He spotted it right away. This is a composition problem more than anything else right now for Classic. It's there that Life's army is triple the size of Classics. Look at that at the top right. You can see that now. This is an issue with Swarm Hosts that a lot of pros, especially European pros, will tell you, or European Zergs will tell you about Swarm Hosts is, the thing is, if your economy's in tatters, it doesn't matter if you have Swarm Hosts because they make free units, and they're always going to pay for themselves in that respect. So, I mean, he's just constantly sending these free units across. If he kills this Nexus...
He's got this Nexus.
This is all Classic has.
Wow.
His 4th base over there to the top right, it's about to be mined down.
He just needs more gas mining. That's the issue.
Oh, great Fungal. Zergling's doing some work here. Going to get rid of 3 of them, and every unit counts at this point.
Yeah, it really does. He's got no army to speak of. Classic needs gas, and he needs it badly. I'd almost rather see him long-distance mine gas than anything else, because Life is now going to take this base. And Classic needs to reproduce the big, expensive units that are going to deal with the Swarm Hosts and the Corruptors, which with minerals he can only buy Harassment. But honestly, quite frankly, there's not much left to harass for Life. He doesn't really have any more mining going on, but he doesn't need it because he can secure this base slowly but safely with his Swarm Hosts. And oh god, that Fungal is a game changer.
Fungal.
That Fungal may be a game ender.
That's like the game-ending Fungal right there. Just killing way too much of the tiny army that Classic has right now. This is a really nice run-by with that those Zealots over there, but still, Classic is trying to make it work with what he has. And these probes even being used to kill the hatchery.
Probes cancel the hatchery up top.
I mean, he's got triple the probe count of Life's drone, 61 to 20. He's so desperate. He's like blinking in the main base with the ragtag SWAT team of stalkers. It's not going to be enough.
Wow.
Well, you know, I mean, he's trying to draw Life out right now. He wants to kill that spawning pool, reduce the amount of these annoying Zerglings right now that are killing all these probes.
Yeah, now look at him warping all these Zealots. That's minerals spent on units that don't have longevity in this game, I would argue.
I actually think if Life went for just mass Roach right now, and kind of it could really deal with all the Zealots and the Stalkers on the map and could really shut down any sort of extra bases being made. And we saw the spawning pool go down there, so he might actually be forced to go Roaches regardless.
Yeah, well, let's see what he does next. Looks like he's just going to kill some Overlords here. He can't blink out of this one. One Stalker might. Well, that's going to be all.
No,
misblink there too on that Stalker.
Oh, they're all trapped now. They're all dead.
Yeah, that sucks.
Oh, and these Zealots taking damage from the Locust as well. And there's just no Nexus going up for Classic. Looks like he's run out of steam.
Yeah, he just can't afford it right now.
Yeah, that economy be gone. That one last fight that he had with all his Colossus.
Yeah, he really messed up on doing that. I honestly, maybe he was thinking the same as me. I just didn't really see how the Swarmless were left. I thought the Colossi wiped most of them, but I guess maybe he thought the same and just kind of blinked in there because there was so much stuff in the way. It's really hard to see. It's hard to judge, but
yeah, it's different from when we're watching and we can see like the whole thing. But as we mentioned before, you're a pro player. You don't have the whole map available to you. You can't see the entire army of the Zerg. You misunderestimated. There's the GG.
Wow.
Life takes a very pivotal, very important win here.
Very important. And who was that one guy that predicted Life might win this match?
Was that Kanata?
I think it was Kanata.
I think it was Kanata. I don't know why they did a close-up of me, but I think it should have been Kanata.
They were looking at your hair, man.
That's what it was. I see.
Well, Moonglade, you've been on point with these predictions today and yesterday.
I'm feeling so good
Did
about
you
this.
get them like almost all right yesterday?
Yeah, I got the last match all right.
Yeah,
sure.
and you got like I think half of the first one right.
Yeah.
So
you're
and the thing is,
it's
it's all like on record now too. Is like up on the screen, not like last week where we were just like telling what your predictions were.
Yeah.
It's real, man.
I don't know. Feels good.
Feels good.